but we're going to continue reading on in the chapter. Listen close. Micah chapter 3 verse 12. Therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house of the high places of the forest. Watch this. But in the last days, are we living in the last days? Yes. But in the last days shall come to pass, meaning it will happen, that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow into it. Wait a minute. Wait a second. So this is telling us, y'all, that prior to the second coming of the Messiah, Jerusalem is gonna be heaps. We just read in verse 12 of Micah 3 verse 12 that Jerusalem will be heaps. The very next verse in chapter 4 verse 1 says,
we interrupt this program. Eyewitnesses in Jerusalem report the sky over the Mount of Olives has split open, and there is a black man in the sky.
I'm live at the Mount of Olives, and dear God, the sky has split open. There's a man, no, a figure hovering in the rift. The military is, people are running. We don't know if it's angel, demon, or...
We've apparently lost signal with Mark on the ground, but we're attempting to reconnect with our senior correspondent, Andrew, who is positioned closer to the event zone. Stand by.
I'm here at the edge of the... My God, this isn't real.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
I
am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay. I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Well, hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This majority...
You can't make this stuff up. He is literally telling people, blessed are those that bless Israel, and cursed are those that curse Israel. He doesn't even know where the Bible verse is. And he's trying to argue theology to support war. We're going to debunk this guy. Thank you for joining the Forefront Radio, where the truth does not fear investigation.
You are now listening to the Forefront Radio, where we discuss history, the Bible, the history of the Israelites, science, and other matters. Bring it out. The history of the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as it relates to the Bible. Who were you prior to slavery? Who were you prior to colonization? These answers and more can be seen and heard as you listen to the Forefront Radio.
Welcome back to the Forefront Radio, where we separate biblical truth from political theater. Today, we address a moment of something that's so baffling. It could only come from the lips of a politician with the Bible in one hand and a war declaration in the other. Yes, we're talking about Senator Ted Cruz, who recently attempted to school Tucker Carlson with the sacred verse in the Bible, Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, that says, "Bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee." Oh, really, Ted? Ted? Who is the thee in that passage? Spoiler alert. It's not a Zionist state created by an atheist named Theodore Herzl in 1948. It's not. The real Israel, according to the Bible, let's go biblical. Who are the real chosen people of God? Now, according to Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, it says, "My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." They lack a knowledge of God's laws. They lack a knowledge of their identity. They lack a knowledge of their culture. In Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 17, it says, "Israel is a scattered sheep, a scattered sheep, a scattered sheep." So whoever is scattered around the world, right? Whoever is displaced around the world would fit that prophecy. Now, question for the critical thinker. Did Polish people that converted to a religion called Judaism, were they scattered or displaced into different areas all over the world? Do they fit that prophecy of being scattered into all nations of the earth? That's a question we should ask, right? They don't fit that prophecy at all. But who does? Let's find out. According to this information here, we find that the transatlantic slave trade was the forced transportation of millions of so-called Africans across the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean at that, which we used to be called the Ethiopic Ocean, to the Americas, where they were enslaved and subjugated to brutal labor conditions. This horrific system, spanning from the 16th century to the 19th centuries, involved European powers, primarily Portugal, Britain, Spain, France, Netherlands, and America. And guess what? They captured and sold quote-unquote Africans from various coastal regions in West and Central Africa. These enslaved persons were then shipped to the Americas, where they were sold to work on plantations and other industries. So that don't fit European people that converted to Judaism, y'all. Does this look like images of people that are scattered from one side of the planet to the other, like we read in the Bible? Somebody tell Ted Cruz to start reading the Bible, folks. Somebody tells Ted Cruz we need to start quoting the Bible correctly over here. What's going on here? What is going on here when you're misquoting the scriptures and making stuff up to support a war? Makes no sense. And U.S. citizens are fed up. They're tired of the BS. They're tired of the lies. They're tired of the misconceptions. Now remember, the Bible says in the book of Baruch chapter 2 verse 30 that they shall remember themselves in the lands of their captivity. Now ask yourself a critical question. Who fits the prophecies of the Bible? Is it people who own media corporations and billions of dollars get received in military aid? Or is it the descendants of captivity, slavery, shipped across the seas, stripped of language, name, culture, and identity? According to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, with ships, with ships. And there you will be sold to your enemies for slave men and slave women, and no man shall save you, no man shall buy you, no man shall redeem you." Ships, Ted. Ships. Ships, Ted. Not airplanes, not visas. Cargo slave ships. Who did this happen to? The sons and daughters of Jacob. And we got the proof.
The transatlantic slave trade was deeply influenced by several Christian laws and decrees. For education and documentary reasons, let's explore some key points. Dum Diversus, issued in 1452 by Pope Nicholas V, granted Portugal the right to enslave any and all people they encountered south of Cape Boiador on the coast of Western Sahara. It repugnantly authorized the Portuguese to engage in large-scale trafficking from West Africa. Romanus Pontifex, issued in 1454, was another papal bull by Pope Nicholas V. This decree further supported Portugal's expansion into Africa. It granted the Portuguese exclusive rights to explore and conquer non-Christian lands, including the enslavement of non-Christians. This laid the groundwork for the transatlantic war against exiled black Hebrews they considered heretics. Later, papal bulls, such as those by Pope Paul III, continued to illegally sanction the slave trade. In 1548, Pope Paul III declared the slave trade legal in the eyes of the Church, empowering European monarchies to continue their involvement in transatlantic trafficking. However, legal does not mean morally correct. These papal decrees, along with the economic corruption and greed of European powers, contributed significantly to the tragic history of the transatlantic conflict against Afro-Hebraic people. It's essential to recognize this historical context when discussing the impact on black communities and the enduring legacy of systemic racism. Consider the fascinating history of the Portuguese black Hebrews and their connection to the transatlantic slave trade. Between 1441 and 1444, Portuguese navigators invaded the west coast of Africa and captured the first contingents of Israelites on the Mauritanian coast. Most of these captives were Israelites, Moors, and Berbers, but among them were also individuals from Africa who had been brought to the Barbary coast via caravan routes by Muslims. These early slave-raiding expeditions laid the groundwork for a significant shift. The Portuguese diverted one of the trans-Saharan routes to the coast, successfully establishing trade relations with the Berbers. Here are some additional points. Fortified outpost in Arguin. The Portuguese built a fortified outpost in the Bay of Arguin in present-day Mauritania, from where they sent several thousand slaves to Europe between the year 1448 and the early 16th century. This outpost became a crucial hub for the transatlantic slave trade. Papal bulls and monopoly. The Portuguese monarchy secured a monopoly over the slave trade along the African coast through the papal bulls issued between 1452 and 1456. These bulls granted the Portuguese crown exclusive authorization to raid and trade Hebrews, who they called Negros de la Guinea, unlike other European powers. Cabo Verde and São Tomé. When King João II of Portugal aimed to establish trading posts along the African coast, the project faced challenges. However, the archipelagos of Cabo Verde and São Tomé and Príncipe emerged as important entry points for the trade between Africa and Europe. Direct connection to the New World. When the Spanish king authorized a direct connection between African markets and Central America from 1518 onward, the Cabo Verde and São Tomé islands became major suppliers of captive labor for the New World. Shift to West Central Africa. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Portuguese slave traders turned their attention to West Central Africa, particularly Angola, where they targeted Hebrews of Congo. A bilateral and direct route was established between the port of Luanda and later Benguela and Brazil, where approximately 10,000 enslaved people were sent annually. East African markets. By the second half of the 18th century, East African markets also began supplying enslaved Hebrews to the transatlantic devastation. While the Portuguese black Israelites' specific role in this history is complex, it underscores the interconnectedness of trade, colonization, and human suffering during this era. Follow the Forefront Radio for more.
So as you can see, folks, this senator doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. You understand? If you say, blessed are those that bless you, and cursed are those that curse you, who fits the prophecies of needing a blessing? Who's been cursed throughout the earth? So guess what? If we suffered the generational curses, guess who's going to receive the punishment for cursing us? The Egyptians cursed the sons and daughters of Jacob. There's archaeological data and images on the walls of Egypt of black people with shackles and chains, working on plantation systems and working construction in Egypt. Then when you look at the Assyrian captivity in the museum in London, there's images of black people that were taken as captives by the Assyrians. Those are the real Hebrews. You understand? So y'all,